तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्। भूर्भुवस्सुवः तत्सवितुर्वरेण्यं भर्गो देवस्य धीमहि धियो यो नः प्रचोदयात्।
My most humble pranams at the lotus feet of our most beloved Lord, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba, and my loving sarams to you, brothers, sisters, respected elders, and children. On behalf of the Sri Sathya Sai Overseas Organization of South Africa, I would like to warmly welcome you to tonight's study circle entitled Resonance with Swami, which will be presented by Dr. Rajen Cooppan. Up front, we would like to express our sincere thanks to Dr. Cooppan for making the time and for sharing his divine nectar with us tonight. There's a few house rules. Please mute yourself and allow Dr. Cooppan to talk for an hour and 15 minutes. Thereafter, we will field questions, comments, or raised hands. You are welcome to put your questions or comments on the chat box as we go along. Therefore, you will not forget the question. I would like to now hand you over to Dr. Rajen Cooppan.
Om Saram, dear devotees, and thank you once again for allowing me to share some of Swami's wisdom with you. So today's topic is entitled Resonance with Swami. Now, the first thing we have to do is to understand just who Swami is. And all through the years that we have known of Swami, interacted with him, listened to his discourses, we have been able to gather that Swami is the indivisible, supreme, absolute consciousness. If we want to use the word God, it represents all of those. And so what kind of vibration does such a consciousness have? It's the pure, infinite consciousness. So when we use the word vibration, which is a physics term, it means that it is energy that is moving. And the concept of resonance is whether a second vibration is in alignment with this primary vibration. So if we take that concept that when a secondary vibration eventually becomes adjusted and is vibrating at the same frequency, so we use three terms now. We used vibration, we used the word resonance, and then we used the word frequency. And so what we're really looking at when we examine this phenomenon that is Swami is that what would be the frequency or the vibratory rate of a being that is supreme consciousness? Well, that frequency is in fact infinite, meaning that it is vibrating so fast that it is everywhere at the same time, all the time. That is the frequency or the vibration of supreme consciousness, which we know is Swami. That he has embodied, taken a form, means that he has slowed down the vibration to have this physical body, yet at all times that supreme awareness is present. It is ever present even in that body when it existed. Now, when we start to understand this phenomenon, we begin to then look at ourselves because we are the secondary vibration, and we need to look at, well, how do we bring our vibrations into alignment, if we can use that word? How do we bring it into alignment with Swami? Now, this is a age-old conundrum for spiritual seekers. How do we tune ourselves to this infinite consciousness, and how do we sustain it and maintain it there? And all through his life, Swami has given the instructions for how this has to be done. And it's not a quick overnight thing that you can do, but rather a step-by-step process. And sometimes it may even take many lifetimes to achieve that. And so the enlightened beings who have walked before us, the sages, the saints who have reached that state of at oneness with Swami, have established that resonance. So whether we call it moksha, which means being at one with that infinite consciousness and never coming back into a lower frequency. So when we use these terms now, we have to evaluate it against our spiritual journey. We are spiritual seekers, sadhakas, making the effort in our spiritual journey. And interestingly enough, Swami has said that you don't have to try to become divine. You already are divine. So then what exactly are we doing when we try to establish the resonance? If we're already divine and it's present within us, the indweller, how is that then to be considered against the idea of sadhana and our spiritual choices that we're making, the journey? So it all boils down to the experience of vibration. So a quick other way to understand resonance, this is an important one to get a hang of. If we take two guitars and both the guitars are tuned identically, the strings are tuned identically, if we place them about 10 or 20 meters apart in a quiet room, and then we pluck the E string. So the E string is either the first or the sixth string. Both of them are E. And if we pluck it and let that vibrate, you will find that within a short time, the strings of the second guitar, which we have not touched, the E strings will also begin to vibrate. This is called resonance. Now, what is the implication of resonance is that when we begin to vibrate at the frequency that is Swami, then we now take on the attributes of this divine consciousness. In other words, we tuned in, and all of those qualities that define infinite consciousness, such as love, such as peace, such as bliss, all of those now become available to us. And this is a very, very advanced stage of our journey, but yet Swami has spoken about it, and he said, this is what you have to aspire for. But in the journey of establishing this resonance, so in other terminology, it will be to attain moksha. That is also true that the resonance is there. But when we attain moksha, everything that you knew as part of your three-dimensional world, which vibrates at a lower frequency, will be erased. In other words, you will not remember mother, father, husband, wife, children, property, nothing. Everything is just simply vanishes once you dip into the ocean, which is infinite consciousness. It's like taking a drop of water, which is each of us, and throwing it into the ocean. Once it merges with the ocean, it cannot be retrieved. It is now the ocean. And that is the overarching concept that we have to bear in mind when we start to describe resonance. Now, we're going to take a slight step aside, and we're going to look at resonance in our day-to-day life, because this is very important, because vibration and frequency can occur in a spectrum. It can go from a very, very high vibration frequency down to a very low frequency. And we have to understand that because we're living in that world. The fact that we're living in a three-dimensional world means that the frequency is low. So anything that is physical and material is vibrating at a low frequency. So very much like ice. It's solid, etc. Now, if you apply some heat, we raise the vibration of the molecules of the ice, which is in fact solidified water. Then it begins to melt down and it becomes liquid water. And if we consistently apply that heat, that water, which is in liquid form, now becomes steam. It virtually changes its shape and it disappears. And so that gives us an example of how energy is being transmuted. In other words, changed from one form to the other. So this word transmuted is a very important one for us to understand, because we have experienced this transmutation of energy by Swami. Now, whenever Swami gave darshan, the real important thing about that darshan, and those of you who are ever physically present in Prashanti would understand this, there is a transmutation of the energy of all the people that are present in that precinct. And what that means is that their frequencies at multiple levels is being raised higher and higher and higher. Now, some very interesting observations. In the days when Swami used to give darshan, when he was walking around and even when he was on his wheelchair, he would stop at a certain point and he would rotate his palm, and then he would touch his thumb against the last three fingers and then move on. Now, exactly what that was, nobody knew until he disclosed it to his students. And so on that particular day, he explained, when I give this darshan, when I do that particular mudra, when I touch my fingers to my thumb, there's some lucky soul in this gathering, or maybe many souls, whose karma of 3 lifetimes is being erased. Now, when we erase karma, your energy starts to, or your frequency starts to become higher and higher. In other words, when we redeem karma, when we eliminate karma, when we burn karma, your frequency starts to climb, becomes closer and closer to the divine vibration. So the elimination of karma is a technique of how this process of transmutation of energy happens. Now, where is this energy? It's physical energy, it's emotional energy, it's mental energy. And all of these three are being refined to higher and higher levels of vibration or frequency. Now, Swami said something so interesting at that time. He says, wherever I am and whenever I am giving darshan, there is an energy that moves from me to a radius of 9 miles. And everything in that radius is being transmuted. Right? What a powerful, sacred blessing that is. That even if you were in Prashanti, didn't make it to the darshan, and you were sleeping in your room, the benefit was still there. That this grace of raising your frequency. Now, that is the ultimate grace and gift that Swami gives us, those darshans. And whenever he's there, or wherever his name is chanted or his glory is sung, Swami's presence is there. And again, that transmutation of our energy, our coarser, lower vibrating energy, is happening. Now, when we when we begin to examine it from that perspective, we now have to take a look at our own personal lives. And we have to ask ourselves, yes, I have the physical body, it vibrates at a very low frequency. But even within the physical body, you can raise the vibration to much higher levels by doing a few simple things. For example, if we change our diet, so rajasic, tamasic food is low frequency, dull. It'll vibrate at a lower, make your body vibrate at a much lower frequency. And so the need to change the diet, which is the very first sadhana that Swami asked us to do, the need to change the diet is for that reason, and that the vibration of the body begins to light. Interestingly enough, when our frequency of the physical body are very low. Okay, so we were talking about the vibratory frequency of our physical body and why, as part of our sadhana, part of our spiritual discipline, we need to make the food that we're eating of a higher frequency. That's what a sattvic diet is. It's high frequency food that enables you, the cells of your body, to vibrate at that much higher level. So if we want to be in attunement, in resonance with Swami, then that need for the body to also vibrate at that higher level is essential. So changing the diet, that's one sadhana. Now, the physical body is not something that functions alone. It is, in fact, integrated with the emotional body, sometimes called the astral body, and with the mental body. So the energies that are vibrating in the mental body, which really is your thoughts, and vibrating in your astral body, which really is your emotional body, really is your emotions, they also have a range of frequencies. They can go from a very low frequency to very high. So when you are, let's say, for example, depressed, or you're feeling despondent, or you're feeling sad, or you're feeling worried, then those vibrations are at the lower end of the frequency. The moment we raise that frequency, the moment we raise the vibration through whatever means, then we find that these symptoms start to dissipate. And that, in fact, is how energy healing occurs. And it's how Swami does, through his incredible grace, effect the healing for us in our lives. So this raising of the frequency gives us the chance to resonate with Swami as and when we achieve that. Now, this process can't be done just once off or at some festival. It is a day-by-day process where we gradually raising the vibration so that we can sustain that vibration at the new level of heightened frequency or vibration. So we spoke about the physical body. So if we're consuming things that have a low vibration, for example, alcohol will have a very low vibration, nicotine from cigarettes, recreational drugs, and leftover foods will tend to do that. It makes the energy that vibrates within you vibrate at a lower frequency. And so it's much harder to be in attunement with Swami's presence. Now, at this point, let's just stop and listen to what Swami has said about the vibration that he is. So how would you know that Swami is present if he's omnipresent, vibrating at that infinite frequency? How do we know that he's present? So he says the first experience that you will know that Swami is present is, in fact, the smell of vibhuti or jasmine. So it's a very refined fragrance that we smell. And many, many a devotee has smelled this, whether we are at sadhana camps or wherever Sometimes in your own home, you get this fragrance of the vibhuti, and that is Swami present in his omnipresent form. The second is light. You begin to experience this effulgence of light, either in the room or in the hall, wherever it is. So that's another indicator that Swami is present. And the third is this indescribable experience of love, prema, that flows through us. It elevates us. And many a time we have all experienced that during our conferences. Toward the latter part of the conference, Swami would be showering this grace of love to us. And everybody in the room or in the hall would experience this raising of their frequencies. Of course, when you're in Puttaparthi and you experience darshan, you feel this raising of the frequency. And becoming aware of this refinement that has to happen is quite important, because a large part of our life as devotees is spent doing these sadhanas with the hope of achieving something that Swami has said would be the benefit of doing that. Ultimately, it is about the awareness that your energy is vibrating at a higher, better level. So however you choose your sadhana, whatever you choose to do, the net effect of it is, does it raise your vibration? Do you feel more at peace? Do you feel more love? Do you feel more bliss? Do you feel that the world around you is offering more comfortable vibrations to you, even though you're living in the Kali Yuga? All of those are vibratory experiences. It's telling us what it is that we are hopefully doing, that it's giving us that benefit of the higher frequency. And so when we come to our emotional body, now this is a harder one to bring under control and to raise the frequency. We've got to have this vigilance around our vibration. The lower end of the spectrum is a dissonance. In other words, it's almost like noise. It just does not vibrate with who and what Swami is. So dissonance is the opposite of resonance. Depending on the places we frequent, so places like nightclubs, pubs, all of those have a very dissonant vibration. Where there are large crowds who are very rajasic, tamasic, dissonance, right? And you can feel it. It like just unsettles you at that emotional level. So we need to be aware that we navigate through life not exposing ourselves to dissonant vibrations. Even the music you listen to, it can either be dissonant, and a large chunk of popular music now is dissonance. But you can have another end of the spectrum where the music is refined, and it is enabling your vibration to improve. So some years back, I think it's maybe now 7 or 8 years back, for 5 years in a row, every 3 months we hosted what was called the Concerts for Experiencing God. And we had really, really great artists in the Indian genre mainly, and also from the Sufi tradition. And they would present this program for about an hour and a half. And the people who attended this were able to experience and drink of this elevated vibration, where they would in fact get to the point where they could feel bhakti, which is devotion, and parabhakti, the supreme devotion. So devotion is another high frequency vibration or frequency that you can use to gauge whether your sadhana is in fact getting you closer to that resonance with Swami. So you now all have access to very beautiful music, the bhajans from Prashanti, awesome singers who have sung in the presence of Swami. So many of these things are available through the digital format. And that should become part of your daily sadhana, exposing yourself to these vibrations, whether they be instrumental, vocal, but becoming aware of the rising frequency within you. How you will know that it is in fact benefiting you is that you will experience some of the resonance of devotion or parabhakti. You may have tears of joy running down your cheeks. That's a real good indicator that your vibration is in fact elevating. And how would you know that these are not tears of sadness or depression? Well, sad tears are salty. They burn your skin as it runs down. But tears of joy, tears where the ego is being terminated, they leave your face feeling fresh. And if you've ever sat in a very elevating bhajan or in the presence of someone who is singing just with so much of bliss, you will feel these tears just emanating from your eyes, and it leaves a refreshed feeling. Swami gave us this information many, many years ago. So you will know that your emotional body, the spiritual heart, is in fact vibrating at this higher resonance. Now, when we look at other things that we can do to raise this vibration, we can consider things like aromas, so smells, and there are many aromatic oils that also raise your frequency. And probably one of the best amongst all of those oils is an oil called frankincense, also known as loban or sambrani, but it's the oil. Even burning loban creates that heightened frequencies. It's said that when you burn loban or frankincense or sambrani, the frequency is so high that the angels come to that place. Angelic beings are all high vibrating beings, and they will automatically come into the orbit of this fragrance. Now, do angels exist? Well, there was a little incident that happened in Bangalore. Swami was visiting a devotee. This was in the early days. And Dr. Hislop was with Swami. And they went to this devotee's house. They were not a very wealthy family, but they were so excited that they invited Swami in and prepared a chair, etc. And Hislop was wondering, there were like 8 or 10 of them as guests. And this was a very small household. And how were they going to cater for so many people? And as he had that thought, Swami turned to Hislop and said, Hislop, go to the door and get the food. Now, Hislop knew that they didn't come with any food because he rode with Swami in the vehicle, and the second vehicle also didn't have food. But in full faith, he went to the door, and standing there in front of the door were 2 angels with trays. And what was on the tray but food? They handed the trays to Hislop, and with mouth open, he walked back to Swami. And Swami said, Hislop, shut your mouth. My angels are always all around us. So this is how we know that angels, in fact, do exist. And so we're saying that when the vibration is high, they will come into the presence and be there as well. Now, so music, we said, raises the emotional vibration. Aromatic fragrances do that as well. Food does that as well. And so you can choose, your music, your fragrances, etc. Use them as tools to physically raise your vibration. Once you become comfortable with what that higher vibration or frequency is, you'll become more comfortable with staying in that vibration. It's not something you can just want to let go of because it's so amazing. Now, when we come to the journey of how do we move ourselves from low emotional vibrations to higher vibrations, this is a really important thing, because we all go through patches where we hit emotional lows for whatever reason, and you have to recognize first. So you tell what your emotions are by how you are feeling, right? The feeling is an inbuilt mechanism. It's telling you you're not vibrating in alignment with your indwelling God, Atma. So if you can become aware of how you're feeling, and there are only really three kind of categories, whilst there are any number of types of sub-emotions that we can experience, vibrations. In broad terms, you're either feeling good or very good, resonance is high. You're feeling neutral, vibration is wherever you are, and then you're feeling bad. So low vibrations, bad feelings. You often hear people using words like I'm feeling low, I'm feeling depressed. Some openly say that it's depression, etc. As devotees, we cannot accept that low vibration. You have to know that you have the capacity to change that. And it is a simple change of inviting Swami into the presence of that moment. Right? Remember, Swami is omnipresent. He is everywhere at the same time, and he'll be there with you. Invite him in. And by using one of the simplest sadhanas that Swami has given us, which is namasmarana, the constant remembrance of the name and form with love and devotion. Doesn't matter what your low frequency is and what it is about or the reason for why it has happened. You can change that by namasmarana. So what is so unique about namasmarana and this process of resonance? Well, namasmarana is repetition of the name and form, name of God. It is the remembrance. And what is remembrance other than a thought emotion? So when we establish the name that we are going to use, it'll be for your Ishta Devata, the God form that closest represents your emotional connection to God. For many of us, that is Swami. Others, it could be Shiva, it could be Lord Krishna, whatever, it doesn't matter. All names and forms of God are Swami. But whatever it is that you choose, stay with the one name. Don't keep changing it based on seasons and so on. Stay on the one name and deepen your emotional experience. In other words, when you think of that name, whether you're remembering it, whether you are uttering it, you want that name to have an emotional vibration for you that is heightened. It'll often be devotion, it'll be peace, it'll be tasting bliss, many, many tones of emotion, devotional emotion. And that's what the namasmarana does. But the moment you resonate the name, it's already moving you out of that lower frequency. And if we do it long enough, it'll completely carry you into the higher frequencies where all these low frequencies dissipate, they break down. Now, one of the most potent sadhanas that Swami has given us, that literally at the physical, the emotional, and the mental level, literally fractures all the old lower vibrations, is Omkar. When we chant the Om 21 times in the morning, and there's a very particular way to chant it, we begin to break down these vibrating low frequencies coming from our past karmas, from the foods we've eaten, from all sorts of things that have left us with these habitual vibrations, which are called vasanas. When we have a lot of vasanas, our frequency cannot be very high. We all come with lifetimes of vasanas, tendencies that we have to get rid of. And this is why Swami has said that we have to start the process when we are quite young. And that is why he insists that his students all develop this habit of the sadhana, in particular the Omkar. So by doing the Omkar, you begin to daily chip away at these low frequencies, dissipating them, dissolving them, allowing your vibration to rise to higher and higher frequencies, and to begin to tune to the presence, the omnipresence of Swami. So this vibratory concept is very important when we understand how the sadhanas work. That's what you're really doing. Now, in a sadhana, there are three stages in how a sadhana will be experienced. One, first you learn about the sadhana. In other words, technically knowing that this is the Omkar, these are the three aspects of the Omkar, how it leads into the silence or the moksha, and so on. So that's like gathering knowledge, information. Then we put this into practice. And this now starts to give us the experience of what the sadhana will do. So we now start to experience the silence as we chant the Om. We feel the vibration of what the Om is doing in different parts of the body, and so on. And then the third element is we manifest the benefit of that sadhana. So learn the technical bit, put it into practice. Now you're going to manifest the benefit. And that benefit with the Omkar is the experience of prolonged peace, bliss, prolonged experience of high energy, prolonged balanced thoughts, prolonged peace in your heart. So no agitations. All of these are the benefits and more, which you can study at some stage. Good to know what the sadhana is going to eventually let you experience. And so if we start to invest our effort in that way, it's a never-ending kind of benefit. It's such an exciting thing to engage and to do. It's not a methodical, boring, mechanical thing that we just chant the Om and then get on with the day. No, that time that you spend has great value for you and lots of benefits. So if you read about what Swami has said about the Omkar, amazing information. You can get that in a number of sources of the Sai literature. Now, when we look at now the mental body, this is where our thoughts resonate. And these thoughts can, again, go along a spectrum. It can go from very heightened, noble thoughts, noble frequencies, or it could descend into lower and lower thoughts where the thoughts are around envy and jealousy and hatred, which, as Swami says, are the deadliest of all the vibrations. As soon as you get down to envy and jealousy and hatred, and of course anger will always be there, then this is the demonic realm. This is where you don't want to be, because you will be so far away from the experience of who Swami is that it just simply is not an option for us. So practicing this vigilance about what kind of thoughts. Now remember, the food that you eat becomes the thoughts that you experience. As is the food, so is the mind. Right? If you have observed people, you will see that people who are very agitated, they almost like have an excessive drive to like get things going and doing. This is the Rajasic energy. Whilst it is a necessary energy to achieve things, it cannot be the predominant energy. Tamasic energy is the slothful kind of ignorance. It is the lower end of the spectrum. Thoughts will be likened to that. But the sattvic energy, these thoughts are refined. It is thoughts of noble things. It is thoughts that lead to more devotion, thoughts that inspire the effort of sadhana, develops fortitude, patience, forbearance, all of these processes that lead into our experience of the human values. So remember, human values have to be experienced. No good knowing these are the 5 human values, these are the 83 sub-values. That's intellectual knowledge, doesn't do anything for you. But if you take one or two of those and put them into practice, the value and its sub-value, now you begin to see and experience the resonance of what these values are. And these values are, in fact, the core structure, the scaffolding that makes up your character. So people who vibrate with a high vibration often have a strong, robust character. They don't get swayed by things that are happening around them. They don't get tempted to negative things. They're able to withstand it because the values are like safety valves in them. They begin to kick in and they guide the thinking, guide the emotions, guide the actions toward a higher, more noble way of living. So when we now reconsider this resonance with Swami, what are we looking at? We're looking at what's the barriers that are at present within us at the physical, the emotional, the mental level that's preventing us from experiencing this continuous resonance. Remember, Swami said, I am in you. Atma is God. It's always there. The indweller, the antarayami. But when we have this discordant energy that's vibrating in the mental body, in this emotional body, in the physical body, imagine all three in dissonance, no way are you going to experience the presence of Swami. That peace that is required, that inner quietness that is required for us to be experiencing Swami. And so this is why things like the sadhana camp are so critical, because they give us the opportunity to put that quietude into practice, allow these vibrations to surface so that you become aware of it. You know, if a sadhana camp is like short and it just about feeds everybody and then off everybody goes, that's of no value. This has to be something where the deepening of the resonance, the awareness that Swami is there, all of these will count toward our spiritual growth. And when we use the word spiritual growth, remember, nothing is growing. It's more spiritual uncovering. We are uncovering the lower vibrations, the lower energies, and allowing that which is the indweller to become obvious to us. Now, the resonance with Swami is such an amazing thing. If you start to practice it, just take one resonance that you want. Maybe it is devotion. Maybe that's the easiest one for us. Those of you who meditate, you may feel the peace, you may feel the bliss. Those of you who are into the music, you might find that the music takes you into that deeper bhava, right? So the bhava is the quality of the emotional tone that is of a high frequency. It's approaching, if a bhajan is sung with great bhava, then the resonance of the singer and the resonance of the words of the bhajan, they begin to interface with you and you begin to tune to it, which is why in a really well sung bhajan, if the conditions are right, you begin to experience this devotion. And as the devotion escalates, you will experience these tears of joy, which is a very physical way of experiencing the powerful effect of this resonance. Now, the more you dip yourself into that, the more that bhava becomes your daily experience, and the bhakti becomes your daily experience, the more we begin to establish this resonance with Swami. Even in the day when you're working, you'll find the vibration is going on in your head. Have you not noticed how sometimes a bhajan that you really like, how it rings in your head over and over again during the day? You can be doing anything else, but it's playing and it's in your head. That is the resonance. That's the power of the nama smarana through bhajan, and how the vibration constantly resonating brings you into tunement with Swami. So gone are the days when Swami's physical form was available to us. I mean, those of us who lived outside of India, it is a very rare occasion when we managed to go to Prashanti, had the grace of being in his presence, etc. But we had to leave. And so we carried with us the omnipresence. We had to have the omnipresence of Swami to be able to still attach to him, to follow his teachings, to be inspired by this avatar. And so the process of identifying the vibrations is quite important, that you at least educate yourself around what is this vibration that we are experiencing. And you need to be able to do an audit on your vibrations. In other words, what kind of vibrations are in your physical body? If you're tired, lethargic, low vibration. If you've got energy, get up and you vibrating with high frequency energy, you'll be enthusiastic about your day and whatever it is you have to do. Same at the emotional level. You'll know when vibrations are low because of they make you feel bad. And what are the good vibrations? No need to sit and try and name the vibration. That's really a waste of time. Just know it's low. I need to do something to raise it. And experience it, rather. And so too at the mental level, what kind of thoughts are dominating your mind? And that will become the dominant vibration. And so choosing the kind of sadhanas that best give you that journey toward resonance with Swami is up to you. Not everyone has to do the same and all the sadhanas. You know, there's like maybe 8 or 10 sadhanas that we have been exposed to. You don't have to do all of that. Choose the ones that you feel comfortable with and stick with it. But you're sticking with it because you want to know, am I developing the resonance with Swami? That's the real test of your spiritual progress. Am I experiencing it? Evidence of your spiritual progress will come when you begin to show the peace of mind, peace of heart, the way you use your words lovingly. So yes, we missed out one, words. Words also have a frequency. You can heal with words, you can hurt with words. And so you need to become aware the kind of choice of words that you're using. And even if you're muttering it under your breath, it's still a vibration. You're going to carry it. Now, the frustration energy is one worth talking about. When you are frustrated, the energy is vibrating at a very low level. This is the energy. It'll be mental, it'll be emotional, it'll sometimes be with your words. You'll use very choice 4-letter words. When this kind of vibration is dominating, you need to be really, really careful, because this is the energy that sets you up for accidents. Right? The frustration energy. Only when you begin to understand and experience that Swami is in the presence, that everything that you do must be invoking his presence. The simplest of the simplest things. Invoke his presence so that you know that he is present and that he is the doer. The moment your ego mind begins to take over and try and do things, then the frustration energy is likely to be there, because it's present in many, many people. And unless you've invested enough time in your sadhana to be able to overcome anger, frustration, irritation, all of those lower vibrations, they are not serving you, right? If you vibrate at a frequency where you have to prove yourself right to someone else, then you've defeated your purpose of your sadhana. No value, right? So be aware of the choice of words. So Swami gives that acronym, the word watch. He says, watch your words. The words have vibration. You need to know, is it at the lower end or is it at the upper end? What's your words? What's your actions? Actions too belie the kind of vibration that we have. Thoughts, the T. we know the kind of vibration that thoughts have. So we need to know, are these higher vibrating thoughts, noble thoughts? So, Swami said that there are three kinds of mind, right? We have the mind that is preoccupied with noble thoughts. That's the best kind of mind to have. What can I do to help others? What can I do to make life for my community, society better? Those are noble thoughts. Then you have the kind of middle mind, which is really preoccupied with things. So it's like, did you see this match with Man United? Did you hear about the score? It's like tracking the events and getting enamored with that. That's the middle kind of mind. And then the lowest kind of mind is the one that is engaged in gossip and backbiting and disparaging kind of thoughts, words, emotions toward others. That's the low form of vibration. So observing ourselves, we can tell what's really happening, and it's up to you. It's your body, your vibrations, and you are on this spiritual journey, if we can call it a journey, to tune in to the avatar, to become comfortable that he is present in your day-to-day life, and that this vibration is what you are engaging and absorbing into your body until it becomes the dominant vibration. That's at some point you're going to get to the point where this is the high vibration that you operate at. Of course, if we can get to that point of moksha where you become at one with the infinite consciousness, then there's no further work to do in terms of sadhana. Now you are the indivisible, supreme, absolute, Sat Chit Ananda. So even if you're still alive, you can, in fact, achieve moksha when you're alive. You don't have to die to achieve moksha. Right? And these beings who have done it are called Jivan Muktas. They already have established at oneness, but they're still in a body. So our consideration this evening has been to become aware of what resonance means, what energy vibration means, what frequency means, right? And there are very simple ways for us to identify this, but only you can make the choice to improve your vibration. You can change the way you choose your words. You can change the way you're feeling. You can change the way you think. All of these give you the options of raising your vibration. And so as you read into this spiritual literature that Swami has left behind for us, you will be able to pick up some of these concepts because he uses them quite frequently in so many different ways. You will be able to pick up the language and the further broader concepts that he has described for us that gives us the insight into why we're doing this. Where's it going to take us? Right? So even though he's left his physical body, the omnipresent Swami is here with us. He's everywhere at the same time, all the time. It's your role to tune in to that. So if we liken it to a TV set that you have in your house, the TV tower that is beaming out the signal is beaming out the signal all the time. Whether your receiver can be tuned to a particular station, then you receive the picture. If it's even slightly out, you will have snow, white noise on your screen. Okay, and so this process of tuning in is really a sadhana. You have to invest the time in it. You have to do it consistently. You have to have the fortitude, and you must develop what is called resoluteness. You have to have the will to want to do it. And if you choose to do it, you must not give it up. You must stick with it until it gives you the benefit. Now, all of that will only come, especially the resoluteness, is if you're paying attention to it and if you've changed the diet. Because when you become more and more sattvic in your diet, remember, diet is anything that comes in through the five senses, then you will begin to feel this quality of resolute. Right? So you have a resolute willpower to do something. And this resoluteness, especially for office bearers, is a very, very important attribute, because if you are doing the sadhana, all office bearers should be doing the sadhana for them to lead, then and then only will you develop the strength of character, the energy, the enlightening of the buddhi to be able to take on and do the work Swami has allocated to you. So sadhana, absolute must for all office bearers. And of course, the diet change, absolute must for all office bearers. So I think we're going to stop there. We've covered quite a bit of concepts. So let's take some questions to see how this has been understood. Jai Sai Ram.
Thank you, Dr. Cooppan. Like Dr. Cooppan said, if you got any question, any comments, you can put it on the chat box. And then if you want to raise your hand, and we will allow you to talk. I think Brother Pragasan, in terms of the chat box, I think we got one question.
Yes, we do have. Loving Sairams, dear sisters and brothers. We do have a question that has come through via the chat box. And this is from Sister Prashantali. And her question is, Om Sairam, does the diet, meaning meat eating, etc., of a person singing in satsang or playing instruments affect the devotees in the center or room?
Yes, what we have to understand is that, when we play an instrument, when we sing, meaning we're using our voice, it's a vibration. And so, as is the food, so is it going to be in the mind and in the emotions. And you will see that being expressed through the music. So whilst the bhajans and all of that is sattvic in its nature, how it's presented will create dissonance. We've all been around for a long, long time now, and we've all been to that bhajan where you just want to get up, or you want to block your ears and you want to just get out of the hall. It is so terrible, right? But the singers don't think it's a problem. So it's up to them. The sadhana of people who want to sing bhajans must be based on what Swami has said. He's given a set of guidelines as to what must be done. We don't have to police that. If you think you can still eat all of those rajasic, tamasic things and then produce sattvic sounding bhajans and music, it doesn't happen. We can hear it, right? In today's world with the COVID thing and the lockdown, maybe it's a blessing in disguise, because now we can just turn to those very sattvic bhajans produced by Swami students, make a selection, play it. People can follow. Right? We don't need to have a war going on in every bhajan training session. We've done that for 40 odd years and nobody's won that war. The ego still exists, and ego will manifest more and more the more the rajasic and tamasic the food. So we don't want to go around saying to people, you shouldn't sing because you are eating meat, or you shouldn't participate because you're doing this. No, that's for them to understand, right? Your leaders, your bhajan coordinators, etc., should be hosting workshops with them to guide them, to help. They're also in a journey of transformation. They also want to raise their resonance. Maybe they don't know how. Guidance, right? We never turn down, we never belittle, never put down anyone who is striving. The very fact that they've turned to Swami through this organization is already some grace. We go back to this statement that Swami said, "For whom have I come? I have not come for the God-fearing, for they know the way. I have not come for the atheist, because they do not want to know the way. I have come for those who are weak of will and feeble of mind." Weak of will and feeble of mind. That's you and I. And so whoever our brothers and sisters are, we have to encourage them, help them to improve with all of this. But that's based on knowledge and some understanding of what they're doing, that the kind of vibration that's going to be generated will affect the devotees. I hope that's answered it.
Thank you so much for answering that, Dr. Cooppan. Brother Henry, we can go to, there's a hand up by Sister Molly.
Sister Molly, you want to unmute yourself and give your comment or your question? Sister Molly? Okay, seems like we got a technical problem. I think, Pragasan, I think there's another question. Maybe we can take the chat box.
Okay, we've got one more question that has come through. It is from Sister Kasturi, and her question is, Om Sai Ram, what is the difference between vasanas and vritis or vritis? I'm not sure if I pronounce it correctly.
Vritis, V-R-I-T-I-S, is it?
Yeah, V-R-I-T-I-S, yeah.
Yeah. So vasanas are patterns of vibration. So let's say we have a thought, we have a feeling, and then we act on it, and we do that over and over again. And so it becomes an established vibratory pattern, which is resident in the mind and in the emotions. So vasanas travel with you lifetime after lifetime. That's why the sadhana that Swami has given, which is Omkar, is the one that eventually fractures the vasanas. Vrittis are frequencies of energy that have the ability to disrupt. So they are sort of like shards of energy coming in. Could be like a loud noise, or something that is repetitively put into our experience. And they also start to agitate the mind and so on. And so they are linked in a way, except that the vasana is a more long-term thing. Whereas vrittis are like more immediate experiences of fluctuations in energies. Every sense can have some vritti that either agitates it or calms it down.
Thanks, Dr. Cooppan. We'll go to Molly again. Molly, you want to unmute yourself and comment? Okay, we still seem to be having a problem with Sister Molly. Brother Vijay, you want to unmute yourself and speak?
Om Sai Ram, brother, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you clear. Thank you.
Okay, Sai Ram, Sai Ram. Yeah, Dr. Cooppan, yes, thank you very much for that, so much of information, and that how we can, resonate with Swami. And one of the things that captured my attention was what you mentioned in terms of your frustration level, and how, mentally you can go so low. And yes, and I did take note of where you said you need to be very careful. And at that stage, accidents can actually happen. And you need to be aware, of the words that that you say when you are frustrated. Because I'm just thinking, sometimes like if you are in a classroom situation, and with the current situation the way it is, and you're sitting in a grade 4 class or a grade 5 class where a learner must be able to write the date, and you put something on the board, and you said, okay, you write like 10 sentences, and you tell the learner, you know what, I just want you to write the date, and I want you to write at least 2 sentences for me today in 1 hour. And you go back and you tell him to write, and and when you go back again and you see this learner is talking, and with all your patience and everything, with your Gayatri mantras and everything, you continuously chanting. And as you mentioned, sometimes you're singing your bhajans and everything. And you go back and, to the learner, and you see, okay, maybe he has written the date. It's gone like half an hour now. And you go back to him and you tell him, hey, you know what? I wanted you to write at least 2 sentences, right? It's gone 1 hour, but that's all I want you to do. And all of a sudden you get busy. And you remember, hey, in the last 5 minutes, you go back and you see this learner. He's only written the date and maybe the heading, and he hasn't written those two sentences that you told him to actually write. And at that moment, you sometimes you just forget and you just can lose it. And there's certain things that just come out of your mind. As you say, your mental state must always be at that higher state. But in certain instances, I think because we are human, we just go off at a tangent. And you say to Dana, you know what, instead of we're supposed to be discouraging, and you say, you are coming to school. The reason why you are coming to school is because your parents cannot look after you at home. We call your parents to school. We phone them. We cannot get hold of them. We ask for their numbers to phone them. You come with the number. The number is wrong. That is why you are coming to school, because your parents, cannot look after you. And then, we hear this saying, like, I know sometimes I'm guilty of this. I said that your parents are sending you here and making sure you come to school is because they want the child support, grant. Now, Dr. Cooppan, now in terms of that, as you said, in terms of watching, now sometimes you reach that stage and that frustration. Now, but at the same time, you are also following Swami's injunctions, and you're doing your namasmaranas and everything. But even though you do that, you still cross that line. Now, in terms of how do you account for that? Like, how does it actually happen that at a single moment you just forget and you go, off at a tangent and you cross onto the other side? Saira.
Yeah, so this is the perennial problem especially in South African schools. There's no education going on, and the poor teachers bear the brunt of this. So essentially what has happened is that even though you're doing all your sadhana, etc., the limit of your patience has been reached. And then it just spirals down toward this lower energy thing, right? I don't think you have to beat yourself up around it. We've all experienced that, but who knows? Maybe Swami is putting you into the crucible of the test to see how this happens. Will you lose it tomorrow? Will you lose it the next day? So hard one, but it is look, we all have that. We see it with patients on a day-to-day basis. You're seeing it with students. We all encounter this in the civil service when you're engaging different departments, it goes on and on and on. And really, if you look at it in the big macro picture, it's telling you how tamasic the buddhi is, the intellect is in so many, many people. And so it's why Swami initiated the Education in Human Values program to create the Sai schools where, step by step, more and more of these kids will be raised in a way where the buddhi is more enlightened. So it's a very hard one, but at your individual level, you have to be aware that this is about your own limits of patience. When the frustration energy is there, you cross the line of not being able to exert the patience, right? So again, I would not beat myself up. I think just turn to Swami and ask for forgiveness, but to give you more strength to handle this kind of thing. I don't think there's a solution to it. I know all teachers try. It's part of their discipline to do that, but we hear the stories of how frustrating it can be. If you pass a kid that 30%, I mean, you're handing over someone who is illiterate to the next class, So it just perpetuates.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Vijay. I think now Dr. Cooppan will go to the chat box. Brother Prakasan.
Yes, Saram, there's a couple of questions that have actually come through. Okay, so we've got one from Brother Niraj saying that Om Saram, does applying vibhuti, eating vibhuti and drinking vibhuti water raise resonance? So in general, what role does vibhuti play in relation to resonance?
Yes, so you should read about Vibhuti in Man of Miracles by Howard Murfitt. There's a chapter in the back. He's done some amazing research on like what Vibhuti is and so on. Our understanding is that it's the stuff that Swami manifests, and it can do many things. So yes, it does raise your vibration, but largely when you drink the Vibhuti in water or you eat the Vibhuti, it is raising your vibration, whether you do it with water or just eat it. And every Vibhuti that Swami manifests has a different frequency. Sometimes he'll give one person the thing and he'll say, don't give anyone else, eat it. And it has like a bitter taste. Another one will have a sweet, fragrant taste. So the one substance has got many frequencies that he is directing for you. For those of us who are lucky enough to have Vibhuti manifested for us, in homes and so on, that frequency is precisely for you. You should eat it. Don't give it to anyone else. So the answer is yes, it does raise your frequency.
Thank you so much for answering that, Dr. Cooppan. We've got another question, which is from a devotee saying that, how can I become a vegetarian? And this is because I'm epileptic and I have other illnesses, and my body requires vitamins and certain things that are in non-vegetarian foods.
No, in today's world, that's really not an argument. I mean, the quality of the nutrients out there, I'll give you specifically a name and where you can perhaps contact us so that you can access it. I'm not sure where this person is residing, but there are organic, whole food, natural nutrients available, superb quality, and you can just see the difference in people who use it. The brand is called Neolife. I'll give you a number you can call and see if they can help you with it. It's 031 309 3036. 031 309 3036. But
okay,
there
can
is
you maybe just
absolutely
spell the place for us, the name, and we can put it
the
in
name
chat.
of the brand is called Neolife. Neolife.
Yes. Neolife. Okay.
So they've got superb amino acids, all the other kind of nutrients. They're all in basically in whole food organic format. So if you're vegetarian, there is absolutely no reason why you have to eat any kind of animal-based product. Everything is there, and it's in a vegetarian plant-based form, barring, of course, the omega-3s, which is a fish oil. But if you're sick, you can take that.
Okay, thank you so much for that. Okay, we've got another question, which is from a devotee saying, Saram, we all do sadhana such as Vedam prayers, yoga, taking care of our families, eating vegetarian foods, exercising, trying to be good devotees. What guarantees is there that we will get close to Swami?
Oh, if you think good thoughts, if you do good actions, and you speak words that are truthful and helpful to people, that's all Swami asks of you. The rest is like he will take care of whatever it is you have to do, right? But if you want to deepen your direct experience with Swami, then this resonance concept is important. You're doing all of those things. Do you feel happy? Do you feel peaceful? Do you feel blissful? Or, is this like an agitated experience of doing all of these things? So that will tell you that you're doing all of this. And our assurance is that Swami said that once you have turned to me, I will take care. Now, what does take care mean? Can be anything that will benefit your soul's journey. So we don't know what that future process is, but he does. So he'll give you the experiences that make you let go of this physical world. Right? If you wonder why you're getting the same problem again and again, you have to stop and understand it, that Swami is giving you this experience repeatedly until you let go, that it no longer serves you. You need to move on to do something different. And that requires some understanding of what is the difference that I have to do in my life.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Saram. We've got another question from a devotee. The devotee says, can you please expound on vasanas, how they are accumulated over many lifetimes, and sadhana is the soap and water to clean the grime and dirt accumulated on the mirror over many lifetimes. So I think
yeah. I'm just trying to understand. Okay, so yes, vasanas are habitual vibratory patterns of thought and feeling. Right? It could be, and every sense will generate its own vasana. So let's use the famous one. Let's say you've got this this craving for sweet tasting things. Say it's a Mars bar or something like that, right? Now, whenever you see maybe an image, or say if you're walking down the supermarket aisle and you see the Mars bar, it triggers the urge to want to buy that, to eat it. That's a vasana. It could have come from many lifetimes of indulging your senses. So that's the key word, indulging your senses in something repeatedly. And that eventually solidifies as the vasana, which you're carrying in your mental, emotional bodies. And it plays itself out over and over. So that's why vasanas can come from many, many lifetimes in the past. Right? And they're subtle. There can be many forms of these vasanas. Okay, I hope I've answered that.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Dr. Cooppan. We've got another question, and the devotee asks, what are the signs that we should look out for that will indicate readiness towards us entering the golden age?
So the golden age, Swami says, is a state of mind. It's not a time, right? Although in time, more and more people will experience the experience of what living in the golden age is. So a lot of that will be, you'll experience unconditional love towards all beings. You'll experience peace of mind, peace in your heart. You will regard all beings as one, as coming from the same source. So, no sort of racial, ethnic kind of division. So right now we're at a time in the world, because of the Kali Yuga, where all of those divisions are so exaggerated that that's all that we can see. But if you stick to the code of practice that Swami has given, then it's your mind. If you're living with a sattvic mind, then you're already in the golden age. Right? You're already living there. You don't have to wait for signs and things that's telling you that you're in the golden age. You'll have just such a comfortable, blissful life, and that's all that it is. It's telling you you're living in the golden age. There are already people that experience the world despite all its turmoil. They just witness. They're not experiencing the trials and tribulations of the rest of us.
Okay, thank you so much for that question. We've got another question from a devotee. And the devotee says that during the time of COVID, we've all experienced and faced many highs and lows. And therefore, your explanations on residence is so key in terms of what we do daily. And the devotee asks, can you maybe share a few tips on what is most important as we start our day in relation to making sure that we start with the right mindset?
So the sequence that Swami gave us is that as soon as you open your eyes, let the first thoughts and feelings and words be the morning prayer. And when you go to bed, it should be the evening prayer. Right? I'm sure you know the morning and evening prayer. Right, so that's the starting point. Then create a little routine for yourself, which is your sadhana routine. Doesn't have to be super long. Choose the sadhanas that most appeal to you, that you feel has the benefit, whether it is Omkar, Gayatri Mantra, Jyoti meditation, whichever. Choose like 2 or 3 of them that you can fit into that time, and then perform them with the grace of commitment and focus on what you're doing. It shouldn't just be by the way, but your mind is rushing to do other things. And throughout the day, the sadhana needs to be either Gayatri Mantra or Namasmarana. You can do that. It doesn't need any special place or time. Do that and see how that can benefit you. All right, so you can create your own sadhana. I mean, I'll give you an example. There was a devotee that I knew. He was a truck driver from Phoenix, and we were in Prashanti together, and we were called into the interview, and we were sitting at Swami's feet, and he was massaging Swami's feet, and someone asked him a question, and Swami turned to him and says, "You tell them how to do sadhana." And he jerked up and he was a bit startled. And Swami then sort of coached him. He said, "What do you do?" He said, "I'm a truck driver, Swami." He says, "Now explain to them how you do it." So he has no time in the morning because he leaves very early. So he's got a little picture of Swami stuck on his steering wheel or dashboard. Before he starts, he touches the picture and he touches his head. And he says, "Swami, be in my head." Touches the picture, touches his hands. "Swami, be in my hands." Touches the picture, touches his feet. "Swami, be in my feet." And then he says, "Guide me through my journey." And obviously, for him to be asked by Swami to narrate that to the other devotees that were there was a powerful, meaning thing. So he took his daily routine and he turned it into a sadhana. As long as he knew that he was in constant remembrance of Swami, that was the sadhana. It is as simple as that in the Kali Yuga. You don't need to be too convoluted with, I did my 21 Omkars and I did the Suprabhatam and I did that, I did like 6 things. And then in that 6 things, you're like so stressed out because you haven't got time to finish everything. Just choose the 1 or 2 that and stay with it.
Thank you, Brother Cooppan. That was really insightful. We have a raised hand. Brother Krishna, do you want to go ahead? Okay, looks like there's a technical problem. Brother Pragasan, we can go with the next question while Brother Krishna is sorting it out.
That's fine. Thank you, Brother Arnab. The next question from a devotee is, what is the best source of omega-3 in vegetarian form?
So the best form is actually from flaxseed oil. That can be obtained in different health stores, good quality. The big problem with the omega-3 is that on the market there are omegas that have only 2 of the 8 fractions of omega-3. And they don't do what the research shows. So if you want to use omega-3, and it has to be then from the fish oil, then the Neolife one has all 8. But if you want a vegetarian option, then you need to get to flaxseed. Flaxseed will have probably not all 8, but it'll have at least about 4.
Okay, thank you so much, Brother Arnab. You want to check on Brother Krishna again, if he's ready to unmute?
Sure. Brother Krishna, you can unmute and go ahead. Looks like there's still a problem. We can go ahead.
That's fine. Okay, so the next question is from the devotee, and the devotee asks is, what will be your best advice for us as devotees to be exemplars of how, to be Swami's exemplars, and how can this be achieved?
Well, the standard that you have to use is to refine your intellect, purify the lower mind, and that will show in the kind of character that you are evolving and developing. If you're doing that, then just by virtue of that refined intellect, you'll be living the human values. So the human values are how you tell whether someone is following Swami's guidelines and is benefiting from that.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Dr. Cooppan. We've got another question asking, please explain how we can be in constant integrated awareness.
Okay, the CIA, or constant integrated awareness, is a kind of process that evolves after you've adopted sadhanas and you've progressed over a period of time. So the constant integrated awareness is the awareness of Swami in thought, word, and deed. In other words, the watch, the words, the actions, the thoughts, the character, the heart. Right? So to have constant integrated awareness means you are observing the omnipresence of Swami in every second of your life. It's there all the time. So it can become established, but takes some effort. So Swami speaks about it, whether we can attain it in this lifetime will be dependent on the effort we put into it.
Okay, Sairam, thank you so much for that. Brother Krishna, your hand is still up. If you would like to add anything, you're welcome to unmute.
Looks like Brother Krishna is having some technical challenge.
Okay.
I think if Krishna can still get an opportunity to raise a question, he can do it via the email to any one of the coordinators, and we'll pass it on to Dr. Cooppan. I think we're coming to the end of our program. If there's no more questions and no more hand raised, Dr. Cooppan, is there any closing comments you want to make before we do gratitude? Sorry, we just got one more question. Prakasan, you want to take that question?
Yes, okay, let's just do that quickly. So this one is on frankincense oil, and it's smelling and tasting it or burning it. I think just the devotee just wants more details in terms of that.
Yeah, so if you're getting the oil, it's available in Dischem. It's made by a company called Soil, S-O-I-L. You can apply a drop on your forehead, drop on your throat, drop on your center of your chest. This is if you're getting like very discordant frequencies and emotions and thoughts and so on. It acts like an antidepressant. It's a very elevating substance. You can also put it into an aromatherapy burner and let it aromatize. Well, those are the two easiest ways to use it. But if you're using like Laban, then that's you're going to burn with the coal and also has a similar benefit. The oil just is more simpler to use. So I wouldn't put that in my mouth though. Externally is enough.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for that. Brother Henry, can we just do one more question?
Okay.
And this one is, how do we sharpen our memory?
Well, firstly, you have to attend to the nutrition. The brain needs 21 neuronutrients. So, ranging from the B vitamins to zinc, magnesium, calcium, and so on. The second is you can introduce specific foods like almonds, blueberries. They enhance the memory. And then the third is that, most people, unless they've got an organic brain syndrome, they don't actually have a problem with the memory. They have a problem with recall. So a little kind of memory training, it means you must put effort into how you store the information in your brain. And then one of the ways to recall, if you can't get or can't remember what you're looking for, is to turn your eyeballs upwards, straight up. and wait for a few seconds, and then it's like it retrieves. So by and large, it's a nutritional thing. Exercise, making sure you're getting enough oxygen, all of those add to the benefit of that. And then perhaps the best known memory enhancing herb is Brahmi, the Cooppan. It's available in many health stores, etc. The Cooppan or Brahmi.
Okay, I think we can go into closing, Brother Henry.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dr. Cooppan. Dr. Cooppan, you want to make any closing comments before we do the gratitude?
Yeah, only to say that this concept of resonance is something that all devotees should have a handle on, at whatever level you can grasp it, so that you are able to use it as a kind of a guiding principle when you choose your sadhanas, when you do your sadhanas, because it's so simple that you'll know when you are in resonance with Swami. It's by the way you feel, the kind of thoughts you're having, type of words you're expressing, and so on. And that's as simple as it needs to be. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Cooppan. I think that's those words of wisdom we have to take with us. Firstly, we'd like to say thank you to Swami for giving us this platform in order for us to grow spiritually. And secondly, a big thank you to Dr. Rajen Cooppan for the time, the effort, and the energy that you have actually instilled in us tonight. And I'm sure it will ignite all our spiritual parts, and every devotee will take away today the resonance that they are in and the level that they are, because everyone has a different spiritual path. And I'm sure, as we said, it becomes a choice of what you want to do and how you want to take it and instill it and let it be part of your life. And I'm sure most of us will take it and put it into practice, because that's the aim of the study circle, is to take the energy and put it into practice. And for those that have missed the study circle, don't be disappointed, because we will have it available to everyone in the organization. The recording will go out. The study circle going forward, we will let you know via the via our organization in terms of dates and topics as well. And I think what we must take away today from Dr. Cooppan's talk is, if all the information that Dr. Cooppan has made available to us, we must take it and have transformation. That's the aim of our study circle. Jason, thank you very much, everyone, for being here and sharing this platform with us. Dr. Cooppan, thank you once again from the organization, and hopefully everyone has a good week ahead. Jai Saram.